Just because you've decided to change these things and upgrade these things and implement these new things in your life does not mean that they get it automatically. Maybe they need time to process. Give your family and friends grace. Give them grace just as you want them to give you grace as you go through these changes. Hi, my loves. Welcome back to Tiffany TV. So today's bevy of the day, as you can see, I have my wine here. It is not just this one wine, it's multiple wines, because today's video is sponsored by Cellars. Y'all, we have our first wine sponsor. Like we're always celebrating. I love this for us because y'all know wine is my thing. So this makes me so excited. Basically, Cellars makes finding new wines easy and fun. You take a 7-question quiz and they ask you questions about the types of wines that you drink now, what types of sweetness you like. It matches you up with wines that they think that you will like, that is in your palate. It tells you have a 90% match to this one, 95% match to this. I stick to like 2 wines. Maybe 3 if I'm feeling crazy. There's times I walk into the wine section and I want to try something new because there's like all the wines from like Italy and France and I'm just overwhelmed and I have no idea what to get. So I just skate back over to my sweet red and I keep it simple. So this is definitely introducing me to new wines. My first subscription, I got 6 wines. And the cool thing is that on each bottle, there is a QR code that you can scan and rate each bottle. So if you get a bottle that you're really not feeling like that, you contact your concierge. Yes, you have a concierge. They will replace it. Simple. You rate it so that they can update your next order. So far, I've tried 2. This is going to be my 3rd. The reason I chose this one specifically is because they send you a card that tells you about each wine, what mood it goes with. And so for this one, it says you can pair with baked stuffed green peppers, which is delish. I kind of want to make that tonight. And then it says split with a good friend. So I wanted to split it with you guys, my good friends. So let's give it a try. Ooh, cheers, my good friends. And so if you're a wine girl like me, click the link below, take the quiz, and get your first box of 6 wines for $55. So let's get into today's topic. We're doing all this healing and all this growing and changing and letting go of old parts of ourselves and finding new parts or acknowledging new parts, discovering new parts of ourselves, right? How do we do that if we are in a relationship? How do we do that and stay connected to our friends and to our family members that we want to keep relationships with? Because let's be honest, there's going to be some people that are not meant to go on this journey. There are some people that have been a huge part of you staying in that unhealthy place, who have been taking you back to that place, who maybe trigger you or support those unhealthy habits. And those are going to be the people that you realize you have to let go of. Those are going to be the relationships that you may not want to nurture during this time. And once you get to that healthier space, you'll see that those are going to be the relationships that no longer fit and that probably shouldn't have been around for as long as they have, right? But what about the relationships that we do want to work? Right? We talked a lot about letting things go, letting people go, and accepting that some people are just not going to be in your life and releasing. But what about the people that you do want to keep? What about your spouse that you've been with for a long time? Maybe it's a healthy relationship, but now you've changed so much from who you once were or who you were this whole time that it feels difficult for you guys to stay connected. Maybe it's a relationship with a friend that the things that you had in common and the things that kept you guys connected have now fallen off. And maybe you guys still love each other and you're trying to find how that works, but you can't. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's a parent, a sibling. So let's get comfortable. There's a lot of people right now that are finding themselves, right? That are, trying to dig deeper and honoring what they really want to do rather than what their parents want them to do, or rather than being at a job that's just paying the bills. They are looking for ways to be more themselves and honor themselves. And in their autonomy, there's a huge message out there that you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. Don't explain yourself to anybody. Do what you need to do. Do it for you, and everybody else will catch up. Now, while I think it is important to do what you're going to do for yourself, it is important for you to make decisions for yourself that are best for you. And I don't think anyone should have a say in you following your dreams and your purpose and the things you're being called to do. Like, no one should have a say in that. That is your decision. You and God, the higher power, source, whatever you call it, that is a decision that lies there, that should be made there. A spouse should not dictate what you're doing with your career or tell you, we can't afford to do that. We can't. Like, I get that people have agreements and things they need to do, but there should always be room for someone to grow, especially if that's what they're craving. There are some people who are in careers that they love, so they're not trying to grow in that way, or they're not trying to change in that way. But for anyone that is unhappy in a space and that wants to pursue something or try something, there should always be room made. I tell you all the time, I'm a risk taker. I'm ready to go when I'm ready to go. And when I feel a pull, I need to make it happen. And so I'm figuring it out immediately. Some people are like, okay, I want to cut back on my work hours and spend more time doing this, or slowly and gradually start this hobby, whatever. And so however you figure it out, it needs to be figured out. There should be no one in your life that is truly supporting you and that love you that is not open at all to you growing and becoming more you. Because we are all here trying to figure it out. No one has the answers. And who's to say that at 50, I don't decide, oh my God, I've been wasting my life doing this when this is what I really want to pursue. That is okay, because you are still here, you're still alive, you still have thoughts and dreams, and you should absolutely be able to do that. Now, with me saying that, with me making it very plain and clear that the decision to change is yours and yours alone, the part that says you don't need to explain yourself to anybody, that is a part that can be very dangerous. Because as someone who has been in a relationship and marriage for going on 16 years, communication about where I am and in what ways I'm changing, it's the only way that we have been able to survive all of these changes going on with us. And both of us. I'm blessed that we are both creatives in my marriage, but when he was leaving a job, I was at a job for a couple more years trying to hold things down. And when I left a job, he was at a job. And then we both left jobs to pursue our full-time creative careers. And so if we did not talk to each other, and if we did not explain, hey, here's what's happening, and here's what's changing, and here's where I'm at with it, we would not be together right now. Because the ways that he had to step up when I wanted to focus more on my dreams, and the way that I had to step up when he wanted to focus on his dreams and kind of sacrifice a certain part just for a moment. And we knew that the person with the job was going to have to pay more of the bills and be more financially responsible. And that's what came with it. But if he had just up and left his job and then all of a sudden I'm paying everything and I'm like, what are you doing? And there's no plan and we're not talking and we have no idea of what the vision is at all, we would not have survived that. Please take everything that you hear, even my videos, take it with a grain of salt, because I'm speaking from my experience. For someone else, I don't know, it may just work not telling anybody. But if it's not working for you, if you are in a space where you're trying to change and you have somebody who is very invested in your life and invested in your everyday movements, you guys have a family together, or even if not, you share bills or whatever. And this is just the intimate part. I'll get to the other relationships, but communication is everything. And so do your best not to run and jump with social media trends. It's like, yes, have your autonomy. You are absolutely in control of where you go. But I know for me, an important part of living a full and happy life is maintaining healthy relationships and nurturing my relationships. And I know that in doing so, I have to communicate and I have to be willing to share a certain part of my vision. You don't have to give all the details, because I find that telling someone all the details of what you're going through when they can't see your vision can easily make you feel scared because they can't see it. So they might start going down the path of like, well, how's that going to happen? And why do you want to do that? And it's like, we don't need to go down that road. But coming to someone and saying, hey, I'm not happy here, and here's the things I want to shift. I need your support, and I'll let you know as things change. And maybe you're nervous, and just being vulnerable. I think that's another thing. And again, remember that I'm talking about the people that you care about and the people that you trust. Okay, those are the people that you want to communicate this with. You're not telling everybody. There's even going to be some friends, family members that you can't share these things with, because you know that they're just not in that mindset and they're not going to support, and they might actually try to do the opposite, right? Talk you out of it. So you're talking to people that you trust and being vulnerable about how you feel. I know shifting for me felt scary, like leaving certain things behind, and I saw the vision, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. And I just knew that I was feeling a pull to do something different and that I was not feeling good in the space. And so I felt scared, and I communicated that, and I let it be known of where I was. And when it comes to close friends or family relationships, the same is true. If you want them to eventually support you or understand what's going on as you make these shifts, take them out on a lunch date or a dinner date and just explain like you're making this shift. And again, vulnerability with the people we love is what I feel bonds us. And a lot of times, if you're making these shifts, they might think you're strong in it and you're fine. You don't need the support. Or they're wondering, like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? I found that for me, one of the most helpful things was to vent to the people that I trust and let them know, here's what I'm feeling. And here's why I'm making this shift. I don't feel good here. And the people that love you will hear that. The support might not be immediate. They might not jump on and automatically be like, go for it, do it. Like, everyone does not have your vision. It's yours and you can see this thing. I always say, like, with my parents, when it came to me first pursuing anything in the creative world as a full-time career, their idea was get a degree first and then go back and do whatever you want to do, or do that on the side. That I know came from a place of love. In the beginning, I couldn't see that because I was young and I was fired up and I wanted what I wanted and I wanted support. And, you know, when I started businesses in the beginning, I wanted all my friends there and I wanted everybody doing the most for me and understanding and like jumping from each career, because I went through so many things and so many changes to figure out how to get here. But I wanted that. And when people didn't support me in that way, I was pissed off and I was angry. And, you know, I was like, I'll do it on my own and they're going to see. And time and experience and wisdom has taught me that a lot of times the people you love most find it hard to jump in these things with you in the beginning, especially because they just want you to be safe. And if they have not done that, if they have not done the thing that you're trying to do, maybe it's switching a religion, maybe it's switching a career, whatever that point is that you are jumping and shifting and, you know, being honest about in yourself, the people in your life that love you usually just want you to be safe. Now, that shows up different for everybody. And I will say this, give your family and friends grace. Give them grace just as you want them to give you grace as you go through these changes. Just because you've decided to change these things and upgrade these things and implement these new things in your life does not mean that they get it automatically. Maybe they need time to process. And I think that's an important thing to say in your conversation too. I don't expect you to get it right away, but I just need you to support me and understand that I'm going to make this change. Take the time you need if you need the time, because sometimes they're just going to be there. But here's what's happening. And that's why I said there's a balance between, like, it's happening. I don't need anybody's approval on what's happening, but I do want to let you know what's going on, just so that you have an idea of what's going on. I think this is a perfect segue. I usually do this in the beginning of the video, but I think this is a perfect time for me to pull one of my I'm Listening Self-Love Edition cards. And this one says, do I treat my loved ones as I would like to be treated? We expect so much of people and how we want them to react towards us and trust in us and give us the benefit of the doubt that what we're going after is what we want. Well, can we do that same thing for them? Can we give them benefit of the doubt? Can we give them grace? Can we give them space to grow? Because that is a moment of growth for them too. Whoever they've known you as for the last 20, 30, 40 years, can you give them a moment to grow and to adapt to this idea of this new way that you are living or this new thing that you are starting? Can we give them the space to understand, to grasp the change that's happening? That's a moment of growth for them, right? And often it's a moment of growth that they really had no intention on growing in. It's something that you chose in your life or that you are honoring in your life and that you are finally coming to. They need time. They need time as well. This is also a perfect opportunity to introduce my I'm Listening Relationship Edition card deck as well. I created this specifically for exactly what we're talking about in this video, because so many times the problems that me and Kev ran into were because we were just not communicating. And because we have two very different love languages, a lot of times the questions he would ask is not what would really get to the depth of me. And same, I'm a words of affirmation girl. He's an acts of service guy. And so while he's doing, I want more connection and talking and affirming. And we were just on total opposite ends of that. And so I listened to you guys, and a lot of you asked, how do you maintain these relationships? How have you and your husband survived all of this growth that you have gone through? And it has been because of constant checking in with one another, constant communication. And I sat down and I wrote down a lot of questions that I felt brought us back together, and questions that I want to continue to ask him time and time again, because I know the answer is always going to change, especially if you are actively growing and learning yourself and pursuing your dreams. You are constantly changing. He and I are constantly changing. Like every day we're talking about something different that we want to do and pursue. And if we did not check in with each other and ask each other these questions, I don't know where we would be. And so I pulled a card today from that deck, In what ways have I changed since we first met? I can say the ways that I know I've changed, right? In my mind, from who I was before, the way I define myself. But I like to see myself through his eyes, and I like to see what he has seen. Everyone's perspective is very different. So your perspective of yourself obviously is different than the perspective of your spouse. And you're going off of your whole entire life. Your spouse or your partner, they met you at a certain time in your life, and they've seen you from that person to who you are now. So that question can be asked every year. And I feel like every year would be a different answer if I'm continuing to grow into these things and pursue my dreams, right? So I created a lot of questions in here that can be asked every few months, every year, or just checking in with each other on each date night, because you can answer a few questions. Me and Kev sat down to test the deck out, and it took us 45 minutes to get through 3 questions, just because I answered the question and then he answered, and we would go down, memory lane, just talking about a story, or get deeper in like, oh yeah, I did mean to mention this to you. Something I had to talk to you about, totally forgot. And it just clarified some things, and it helped us to reconnect. And so not only do I want us connecting with ourselves, which is first and foremost important, but maintaining healthy relationships, because we need community. And it's not just about getting zen in ourselves and then being alone. That solitude, you need that solitude to get yourself together. But a life well lived is with people we love, and with connection, and with joy and laughter, and being able to share all the beautiful things that we've learned and overcome, and the things that we accomplish. And I hope that this helps you in the way that it has helped us. Now, getting to the hard part of some of our relationships will not stand the test of our growing journey, of our healing journey, of our truly finding ourselves and self-actualization journey. Some of those relationships and friendships have come from times of trauma. They are trauma bonds, and they're not healthy. As much as we are going to take accountability, in taking accountability, we have to set those boundaries, right? In taking accountability, we look at what we've accepted from people in the past, what we've allowed in our life, what we've ignored. As you go along this journey and you start to find peace in yourself, it will become easier and easier to see what relationships support that. It will become easier to see what ways you've played a role in creating chaos in some of the relationships that exist. And it will also become easy to see what relationships bring chaos to your life. It will be easy to see when you are happy and joyful, and then you talk to someone and your mood just goes all the way down. When you're happy, seeing the reaction that people have. There will be some people that loved you in your misery, that loved you when you were gossiping, and loved you when you were doing everything they asked you to do without questioning, and when you were always available. There will be some people that love the way you operated when you operated from trauma and you operated from your unhealthiest space. And that will show up as them making fun of this happier you or more peaceful you, or trying to make you feel bad about it, or trying to create drama, whether that be with you or bring drama to you through other people's stories, or just pay attention to the way that people respond to you healing yourself. It's a touchy subject because sometimes what we do is when we're healing, we start to feel like we're better than people. I went through that point in my journey. It's not intentional, but it's just you start to learn things that you didn't see before. And now that you see it, you can't unsee it. And so you see it in every person around you that still holds that quality. When I stopped calling people specifically just to either gossip and tell someone's business, or to talk about like the negative things going on in the world, when I stopped that, it became like alarmingly loud how many people and who always wanted to talk about those things, because I was actively trying not to talk about it. And so when people did, it made me really uncomfortable. And I think in my mind, I started to be like, oh,
they're just going to stay in that same place, and they're just going to be gossiping all the time. And that's why their life is.
It was like, instead of it being just an observation, it was a judgment. It was like, would you stop? And so that's why I say be very mindful, because it's like it's a tiptoe. If you are coming off judgmental to people, then yeah, they might bite back, right? And they might bite back in a slick way or in a passive aggressive way. And in your mind, you're just like, oh, you don't support me. So this is a slippery slope. You have to be self-aware. And you have to realize that just because you are growing and you are learning all these things, that everybody is not on the same journey as you. Your journey is no better than anybody. Just because you've learned stuff, you're not here and they're not here. That's not how that works. You are on your own path and you're learning things. And then from there, you get to decide who you want to keep around you, who has access to calling you and talking all the time. And like I said, this is where it becomes a little bit of a hard part, because you either have to sever relationships or you have to set really hard boundaries if you want to continue growing on this path and if you want to protect your peace. You have to make those hard decisions. Looking at relationships and truly determining, one, check in on yourself. In this journey, am I doing my best not to judge other people and shame them into being where I'm at, to getting to this point of healing or learning this new thing? Maybe they never want to. Maybe you've decided to stop drinking and stop cursing, and they don't want to do that. You can't judge someone and make them feel bad for your decision. That's a personal decision. Now, if you decide you don't want to be around people who curse and who drink, then that is a you decision. And that is a boundary that you have to set, or relationships that you have to sever. And that is the harder part. I've learned, for me, the best thing that works is to focus on myself and to stop trying to make people meet me where I'm at. They don't have to meet me. I'm in control of myself. For me, working on self-control, working on sticking to my decisions, building that self-trust, that's what's important for me. What doesn't feel good for me is cutting everybody off that is not me. I went through that phase too, where I just wanted to isolate from everybody, but that doesn't feel good for me. This is why we say solitude is important, especially in the beginning of the journey, as you are learning these habits and as you are becoming the person you want to be. In order to solidify those habits, solitude is important. To sit with yourself, figure out why you're doing it, get sure about why you're doing it, and make these things habits so that it is a little bit harder to just slip back into old ways. Now, if you continue putting yourself in a position to slip back into old ways, inevitably it will happen. Birds of a feather, right? That's why they tell you to surround yourself with people that are going where you want to go, that are already at where you want to go, that you can aspire to, so that you can keep going along the path of growing and stick to those habits. But what I'm saying is, you don't have to sever relationships if you don't want to. You can set boundaries. I'm not going to spend all my time with people that are not on the same mindset as me. I'm not going to do that, but I don't have to cut them off and I don't have to judge them. I hope that makes sense. What I'm trying to say is there's a gray area. It's not all black and white. You don't have to cut off everybody that is not you or that is not on your path. I do think you need to have solitude while you are solidifying these things, but you get to decide whether you want to cut somebody off, whether you want to end relationships, or whether you just need space and boundaries. You know, I now know in my life certain friends are for certain reasons, and every single one of my friends don't know all of my deepest, darkest things I'm going through, or thoughts or dreams. There's just boundaries on certain friendships and family relationships, and also with my husband. There's certain things I know about my husband and the way that his brain works, that when I'm sharing something with him, I know there's certain parts I want to keep for myself, because it's a big, crazy dream. It's me living in my Delulu and I want to stay there. And so I'm going to share as much as I need to share with you, but I don't need to share it all. He's a visual person. He likes to see it. He likes to see how it's going, what it needs to look like. Perfect example. When I was first relaunching my YouTube, and I remember saying, like, I close my eyes and I envision myself sitting there. I see the mic on the table. We used to have a mic, like a boom mic, and it would be up here and you wouldn't be able to see it. And so it was just my environment. And I, for some reason, in my meditation, when I closed my eyes, it just came through. And that's what I envisioned. I envisioned a podcast mic. And when I first explained it to him, he's like, well, why? He's like, so you just want a mic on the table as if it's a podcast? And he's like, but you're doing a YouTube video. And I'm like, I know, but I know what I see. And I see like greenery or flowers and like candle, like setting the mood. And I want and I had the whole this. It was all in my mind. And he was just like, he could not see it. He didn't understand. And that's a perfect example of what I mean by, like, your vision is yours. Hold on to that. And don't let anybody make you feel crazy about it. Nobody. My husband is the closest person to me in the entire world, but he is still another human being. and he still can't see my vision. And it wasn't until I sat down with my camera and I set it up as best I could. It didn't look as amazing as it looks now because he came and he added lights and he like upped the quality and he helped me to just get some stuff together. But I had to show him what I meant. And so I shot the first few videos on my own, and then he came in like, oh, okay, let me help you to sharpen this up. And it's like, okay, like I'm going to get it done. That's exactly what I mean by I'm going to do this. Whether you're on board or not, I'm going to do this, but I'm just letting you know. If you want to help, that's awesome. If you want to support, that's good, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen. And that's the attitude we should have with all the things that we want to do in our lives. It may not have to happen immediately. We may have to put a plan in place. I give us 6 months to put this much away in a savings so that I can start this business, or I can leave work, or whatever thing that you are working on. Make that decision for yourself. Make sure that you are sure so that no one that you share it with can shake you. That is my biggest piece of advice when it comes to relationships and growth, is just be sure in yourself that you know why. And even if you don't know why, just be sure that you trust in what is coming through you. Because I don't always know why God is sending a message through me, or I see this thing in my head. I don't always know why. But I know that it feels good. I know that it feels like something I need to do. And I hold on to that. So whatever your thing is, however you communicate, however dreams and visions come through you, or however you make your decisions in your life, your most important relationship is you. Your most important relationship is knowing what you need, what you desire, what you envision for yourself. Being sure about that before you're sharing anything with anyone. So that no matter what they say, they cannot shake you. The right people are going to support you. Using your discernment to determine who has your best interest at heart, who is there to support you, but they just need a minute to adjust, and who is trying to deter your dream or talk you out of it, or is ultimately wishing for your downfall. I hate that that's a reality, but you know, when you're on this journey of healing, it can reveal places in which you've been operating in toxic ways for a long time. And that includes relationships, that includes jobs, that includes friendships. You know, this journey is not for the weak. In this journey, I have parted ways with so many of my friends, had to set boundaries in friendships, come back together with so many friendships. And all of it was necessary because they were growing and I was growing. And we had to have those moments of understanding in one another. And some friendships have ended, and that's okay. That is okay. The more that you can trust that what is meant will be, because like I said, the ones that were meant to be, we are thick as thieves and back together. And I'm sure down the line, there will be more moments where we are growing. And it's like I hope for those moments only because that tells me that we are still growing and changing, and maybe we just need to relearn each other. I don't want anybody in my life staying stagnant. And so I give them that space. I think the difference now, again, with time and experience and wisdom, is that our fallouts don't have to be dramatic, or they don't have to be fallouts at all. Our times that we take this space, I now look at it and I give that person, whether it be my spouse, my friends, my family. I think as a young woman, it was easy to look at it and I would get so distraught and be like, you know, this relationship is over and they don't understand me. It will be so dramatic. And in my mind, if we parted ways, we're just not friends anymore. Or if me and my husband, back then boyfriend, were going through things, I'm like, oh my God, it's over. I was just really dramatic. But I feel like a lot of us can think in that way, where it's like, you feel like if you let it go, or if you're in a bad spot, that's what it'll always be. Time and the experience has taught me life happens in waves. Sometimes you are ultra connected and on the same page, and other times you both are going through something at once. One of you are going through something and the other isn't. I've learned to just breathe. I've learned who are my people, and I've learned to give them the benefit of the doubt, that if they're quiet or a little snarky or going through a moment, that it is a moment. I check in and I let them know that I'm there, and I'm not as judgmental as I was before, or jumping to my own conclusions, being really selfish and thinking only about myself. I am quicker to stop myself, breathe, and just let it go. And I'm like, it's going to work itself out. The friendships that are meant to be will be. The relationships that are meant to be will be. The opportunities that are meant to be will be. I'm not really tripping on anything. It's really a let go, let God, and let life unfold. Let people go through what they need to go through and grow, giving people room. I think that's the most important thing in maintaining relationships through life and through growth. Let people grow. Give people space to bloom and change. And if they come out on the other end and it's not something you love and like, you have a decision to not be in that person's life. But often when it's people you love, you find a way. You find a way to make that work if that's something that aligns with you. You know, you can hear a lot of advice that's very, do this and this is exactly what it needs to be, and cut them off. And I'm not the girl that's going to give you that advice. I'm the girl that's going to tell you, you know what's best for you, but I'm going to give you all the examples that I have and let you know that there's multiple options for the ways that you can handle things. The lack of value on giving people benefit of the doubt, letting them prove who they are, because if you give them benefit of the doubt and they prove to be otherwise, they stick their foot in their mouth, and that's on them. You gave them the benefit of the doubt. You gave them the time and the space. And if things turn out otherwise, then you've done nothing wrong. And then you can wash your hands and you can walk away from it. But I've never regretted, ever, giving someone the room and the space to figure out who they are, where they are, take their time away, take their time to themselves. I've never regretted that. Just as I need my time to grow and to be, I also need to give that grace to the people in my life. And so I hope that you walk away from this with a little more insight. And any questions that you have that maybe I didn't touch on, put them in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to all the questions. But grace is the biggest word that we're going to walk away from this with. Grace, giving your friends and family and loved ones grace to grow, and giving them grace to adjust to your growth and your changes. Taking a breather and not panicking and thinking that everything is over if things change and start to fall apart. Breathe. Let life do what life does. Life really is seasons. Storms are very, very temporary. The hard moments are very temporary, but that we need to learn the lessons through them. Please do not go through the lessons. Grow through them. Don't just cover your eyes and try to get through. No, look around. Take notes, okay? Here's what I'm not going to do again. Things I am not going to do again. I hope you learned something from this video, and I hope you walk away with something new. If you love this video, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any new videos. I feel a hair. These boho braids are trying it. Hit the notification button so you don't miss any new videos coming up. And until we meet again, my friends, keep living in love, in light, and in your truth. Mwah. Bye. I'm gonna try some more wine. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.